Hi guys, and welcome back to SwitchUp. A big thanks to all of you that are new to the channel, welcome, and to those that have been here for a while. We have almost made it, my friends, 100k. And a big thanks to the guy in the comments of the last video who was like, come on, let's get there before Mark's birthday. I do appreciate it. You're only 96 once. I did post some information on the channel about the release of the 2K games. They have told us some of the file sizes, so if you check out the community post if you wanted to know about those. But what I would say to all of you is, we're not getting review codes until launch day, and I don't think anyone else is. Whether or not that makes you a slightly skeptical about potential performance issues, well, I'll leave that up to you to decide, but I can guarantee you on launch day I'm going to smash out performance reviews on all of them. So if you'd rather wait just maybe a few hours and then watch those, then do that. Otherwise, just take the risk and jump in. But yeah, the 29th can't come soon enough. Today we're going to look at Minecraft Dungeons, which has just released on the Switch. Now, interestingly, a lot of the coverage that's out already came before the patch was released. A big thanks to the developers who gave us this one for review purposes. Let's break down the game, and we'll also give you our opinions and thoughts on it at the end of the video. It targets a certain audience, and it's not going to suit everyone. But how does it perform? What control options are there? What graphic settings have we got? And is it a good game? Well, let's find out. In terms of the control options you've got then, well, there are a few things and there are a few things missing. You can remap every single button, which is nice, but let's be honest, with the new native button mapping, that doesn't really become such a factor anymore. There are a number of accessibility options, which is a nice little touch, allowing for an on-screen reader, the changing of colors if you have issues with color blindness. But when you have all of that, but you don't have the option to invert axis on camera, it's just a bit odd. So unfortunately that's not there, but it's not a huge deal for most people. Let's have a look at the performance then, break it down, have a look at the visuals, and if they stack up on the Switch. Now, as you may have gathered, this isn't the usual voxel engine used in standard Minecraft. This time around, they've gone for the Unreal Engine, which isn't a huge surprise. We've seen it well utilised on the Switch in a number of titles. However, and this is a big however, there aren't many games that run native resolution at a locked out frame rate using the Unreal Engine. Very often we see a blurry visual and quite a bit of stuttering. If I'd been basing this on the pre-patch, day one patch version of the game, then this would be a very different tale, but thankfully that day one patch has sorted out numerous issues. The game is running 9 times out of 10 at a locked out 30 frames per second. However, there are a number of micro stutters, and it seems like there's a bit of a frame pacing issue at times, particularly when there's loads of enemies on screen, but at other times seemingly for no reason. This has been such a common theme when looking at Unreal Engine games on the Switch, although it might seem a little bit of a surprise seeing as the age of the Switch now and the amount of times the Unreal Engine's been used. I think that every game has different challenges that they have to overcome. For example, although the game looks simplistic, there are actually dynamic shadows being rendered off of most items in the world, and while the shadow maps aren't the highest, they're also by far not the worst I've seen. There are some nice lighting effects, although it does look like a touch of the ambient occlusion is either lower or not present. I can't be 100% sure. Now, the frame rates themselves, when you're playing the game, feel solid enough, and at times the game can look really quite nice. It has a vibrant color palette, and obviously I'm not going to talk about textures because, well, look at the game, but what I will say is that I don't believe it's running at fully native resolution. As to my eye, there's a tiny bit of blur, but I'm still quite impressed with the overall look of the game and the performance with which it's running. Some of the elements, like the map screen, just look lovely. If they can just iron out those last few micro stutters, then we're in ideal Switch territory really. Load times are decent, there's nothing to complain about there. And transitions within areas are also quite swift. One area that stood out for me as a player, that although isn't directly related to performance and visuals as such, but still feels a bit odd, is the lack of destructibility within the world. Now, Minecraft is synonymous for its ability to be able to destroy and build every single segment or element of the game, and obviously here they wanted a more curated experience, but there's still some procedural generation at play. But even things like crates and barrels, for some strange reason my natural reaction is to go over and hit them with my weapon, and when nothing happens, it's just a bit odd really. Not a big deal, but something that you notice quite early on. At the start of the game you can choose one of several characters, characters, all with their own unique designs, and really this title's meant to be played through a number of times, which will also allow you to unlock all of the different characters. Overall then, performance is decent. They've done a very good job just in time for that launch day, because before then I was going to destroy it. It's not 60, but a majority locked out 30 will suffice for sure, especially in this type of game. So what do I think of it? So far I've spent around about 3.5 to 4 hours with the game, and I think I'm ready to give you some thoughts. Straight off the bat, I'm going to say it's not Diablo, but it does have many of the same addictive qualities. As I mentioned, levels have a procedurally generated element to them, so you may see a touch of visual repetition, and the majority of your playtime is going to be spent firing off arrows, swinging your sword, and gradually upgrading your weapons. Now, as you level up, you unlock these modifier tokens, which essentially allow you to mutate the current weapon with a new ability or skill, which is nice. The default difficulty though means that you don't really have to do this, particularly if you can find a group of people to play with. Where's that crying face emoji? As you know, the game supports up to 4 players locally, and if you really hammer your way through it, you can complete it in around about 4 to 5 hours. So I've made my way through the majority of the game. It's a fun experience, it's very light-hearted. There are a number of moves you have, such as a dodge roll, and you have modifier abilities that change the effect of your weapon, which can be equipped to your character, as well as armor that you can pick up as you go along. It feels very pure, and after playing that Elder Scrolls Blades game that came out, that left a bit of a sour taste in my mouth. And Minecraft Dungeons has fully removed it with its purity. No silly enter your gems here, no spin this wheel and see what happens on the next level. No, you pick up an item, it's yours, you can use it. Thank you very much. I like that a lot. But having said that, I do feel that some players may find it overly simplistic. Things like the purchase mechanic could have just done with a touch more depth. I really appreciated how the game opens up quite early on. You finish 1 or 2 stages, and then you're given a large choice of locations with which to play next. And in a title like this, mixing up the visuals is one of the best ways to keep it feeling fresh. And each of those stages look very unique. They've got a unique colour palette, and actually some of them, as I mentioned, look really nice. You can find hidden chests throughout the world and other items which drop from enemy mobs. These can be equipped to your character or left, or you can scrap them and break them down into their component parts. One prime example of something I don't really enjoy but is intrinsic to a simplistic hack and slash dungeon crawler is the on-screen constant notification of where to go next. It removed my desire to go off the beaten path, and in the end I just had to completely ignore it and go exploring, and when you do that you'll find a lot of hidden items, but its constant presence removed a little bit of the wonder and the discovery that you could otherwise have. Now you can bring up a mini-map to show you where to go anyway, and I'm sure there's an option somewhere to remove this, but it's one more reminder as to the simplistic nature of this game. But as my old grandpa always used to say, sometimes the simplest things are the best things, and I've thoroughly enjoyed my time with the game so far. It's certainly a better experience with people to play with, and I did find Microsoft's matchmaking system to be a touch odd, as I wasn't currently able to find any players to play with other than those in my friends list who didn't own the game. With that said, if you want to play locally, or you've got some friends that you already have in your list who own the game, it's going to be a great deal of fun, and it does have that addictive quality that you'd look for in this style. Let me know down in the comments if there's any questions or things that I've missed out that you wanted to know about, but if you do go out and purchase it, I don't think you'll be overly disappointed. A big thanks to our patrons and to all of you who are helping us climb towards that 100k milestone. With all that said, for all things Switch, all the time, keep it Switch up. Cheers guys, see ya!